Greetings, all. Welcome to another edition of the Enterprise Edge podcast. This is Mark Figueroa, founder and CEO of the Enterprise Edge. It is a Friday in February 2026, and I am overjoyed to have Paul Baier with me here today. Paul is the co-founder and CEO of a company called GAI Insights. It's based outside of my hometown of Boston, Massachusetts. GAI Insights is it's kind of an industry analyst. Paul will tell you about it. An industry analyst advisory firm, kind of helping executives of all kinds, all companies, accelerate their AI digitization efforts to improve revenue per employee and valuation multiples and a lot of other very telling indicators of success. And Paul's actually an executive fellow and an MBA grad at Harvard Business School. And we'll get into it, but Paul and I worked together, I don't know, a couple of decades ago. Paul, before we get any further, let's give you a proper welcome. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you, Mark. Delighted for the invite.
Awesome. Well, it's good to see you again. It's been a while. So let's start out. For those of you who are regular listeners, you know we have a format. We're going to start out with some icebreakers and get to know Paul a little bit, and then we've got some good questions to get us through the conversation, and then we're going to end with a speed round of fun questions that will send us into the weekend, at least for some of us. All right. So, Paul, I think, if memory serves, I think I was employee number 11 back in 1999. The only mistake I made was not taking your first offer to join you. But I live and learn. I was a young buck. But that was 1999. The company was called PurchasingCenter.com, and it was in a different kind of disruptive era, the day of online exchanges. We were in the world of MRO and industrial supplies. And to this day, I'll say it to everybody, that was one of the most formative years of my professional life. And I owe a lot of that to you. So thank you for that. But tell me a lesson or two you learned during that time from which you still benefit today.
That was a .com. And for folks who don't know, we went from zero to raising $35 million in 12 months and went from 2 employees to 140 employees in like 6 months. And .com mania, I mean, lots of lessons. Biggest lessons is, I kind of knew this, it just cemented me. Do not confuse the finance markets with the customer markets. Finance is fashion. And just because we end up raising 20 or $30 million and all the VCs are telling us to go faster, doesn't mean the customer market is going faster. So that was, real good lesson for me. I think the second lesson was just how early these markets are, and that you've got to really navigate and listen to what customers are buying, what they may want and say they want in month 6 or year 1 of a transformation may be very different what they actually end up paying for. So just because you get a couple customers saying go east, the answer might be going west. So you really got to listen.
Yeah, no, it's a great time. And I know we did some significant pivoting along the way as well, as that business evolved. So lots of things have happened since then. But now, obviously, you're in, like you and I were sort of in the midst of another sort of watershed set of events here in enterprise tech, and you're steeped in AI and generative and agentic AI. And I'm curious, you hear a lot of things, you hear a lot of talk, you're in the boardrooms a lot of your clients. Is there like one phrase from enterprise AI conversations that you'd like to ban forever? What would that be?
There's a lot of conversation I want to ban. I want to ban the discussion and debate at all about AGI. It's a silly conversation. There's no definitive thing. It just feeds into fears. It's one of these things that everyone, the brother, has an opinion on, and it doesn't move the conversation forward here. And there's lots of definitions like that. I've been in boardrooms and multiple definitions. Two execs are arguing this between AI assistant and AI agent, and it's just, we need to get language clarity and definition, because this is really serious stuff we're talking about here, and we can't have a good conversation if we're all using different definitions.
Yeah, that's for sure. Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to hearing your thoughts here, Paul. We're going to get into the meat of it here. So I'm still learning about your business as well, so this is a good opportunity to share and for me to learn a little more. But from what I've gathered in the brief time that you and I have chatted about it, you're helping companies sort of move into this AI first, or at least a hybrid type of mentality when it comes to AI with regards to human and digital workers, so to speak. And I'm just curious, like, is there an example or two that comes to mind with a client where you've seen this sort of journey or a transition happen where, you have this sort of emergence of hybrid teams where you have, maybe semi-autonomous agents working alongside of humans and how those tasks get redistributed and, is there any learnings along those way from like how org charts are even thought about now? Is that just kind of walk through some of that evolution to kind of a hybrid workforce model that perhaps you're seeing from some clients?
It's a great question. I think I want to first paint how wide the variability is. So raw
Yep.
startups who are starting day one of 3 or 4 agents per person is very different than a 20-year-old company or a 100-year-old company making the transition. So big difference there. But I think by looking at those companies, you can see where this is going here.
Yeah.
And a lot of transition and mindset. For the companies that you specifically asked that are moving to transition, usually 90% of them don't have a CEO who understands it and is pulling the organization.
Yep.
Those are business challenges. My organization can't go fast. How do I roll it out? Everything else. So that's one set of problems here. The other 95% are, I don't really understand it. I gave 100,000, $1 million to my CEO, and they're doing something, and my board's telling me, my private equity current. So there's just a lot of confusion. There's little pockets of island theater, pilot theater, and everything else. There might be
Yeah.
some thing, but there's not a cohesive alignment on how big is the risk or opportunity, what's the right strategy, fast follower, leader, slow follower, or what our North Star is.
Got it. Got it. No, it's interesting. It's interesting. You mentioned language a moment ago, and words have meaning, and oftentimes in emerging technologies, disruptive technologies like this, words evolve in terms of their meaning, and it's hard to make sure you're talking about the same things,
Yeah.
right? When you're in a high pressure situation, especially, and one of those words or sets of words are things like chatbot, right? And to your point about assistant versus agent,
Yeah.
right? And what does all that mean? And so I want to talk a little bit about chatbots for a moment. I think you guys at GAI Insights, you put out a lot of good research, and I think you've got like buyer's guides and things like that, and do some comparisons and trying to help people make choices. And you've made some cases around, like companies like Morgan Stanley that had a chatbot use case that was trained on like over 100,000 internal research reports, and it seemed to be sort of like an interesting and somewhat maybe low hanging fruit for a company like Morgan Stanley. But I, again, love to hear maybe an example and maybe some business justification examples that maybe you helped build, maybe you
Oh,
observed
sure. Yeah.
around this particular category, and talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, a great question. A lot of it, we like to start at the basics here. There's
Yep.
3 levels AI can be put in. It can be
Yep.
used for employee productivity. That's the, co-pilots. It can be
Yep.
used in process improvement, 350 people in my call center, or it can be put into the actual product, Einstein or Agentforce and Salesforce, an AI bot in a toy or a washing machine. And I'm often watching executive conversations bounce back and forth where people are talking about, what specifically are we talking about here? So I think there are different levels. Um, I think that's one. Second, you know, characterizing something as a chatbot is too easy and it confuses the conversation. That's just what the input in. So
Yeah.
input can be a human versus something they type or say, or it can be an
Yeah.
API. And what happens after that can change quite a bit here. And even we've also done, Mark, a lot of, we've probably trained 15,000 executives and employees on instructor-led training for General
Mm.
101, 201. And every 101 we talks about the chatbot. If you want to be a prompt engineering, it's just put something in the chatbot. You don't have to be an
Yeah.
engineer. If you're one of 8 billion people use Google, you can use ChatGPT. Oh, I
Yeah.
thought I had to be an engineer here. So I think the chatbot confuses stuff. But when we start talking about individual productivity and process, different ROIs, on the individual ones, most companies still do not have a secure employee chatbot because a sweet spot for employee productivity is confidently using a secure employee chatbot like Copilot and ChatGPT and confidential information. And most
Mm.
employees don't want to do the right thing, or they're doing the wrong thing and using shadow IT and putting your confidential information in there and not telling you here. And part of that is justification is understand, boy, do I really want to spend 15 to $20 per month per employee? If
Yeah.
you've got a large base, that could be 5, 10, $15 million type of investment.
Right. No, it's fascinating. No, no doubt. And a lot of people are calling 2026 is sort of like I don't know, it's sort of like the year of reckoning when it comes to measurement, right? When it comes to impact of AI and demonstrable return and things like that, and sort of a recoil from the initial phases of AI where didn't matter. It was just the halo. You put on the halo, you invested in something that had AI on it, and everyone was happy, right? And now it's about return and demonstrable return, and not only that, but in an accelerated fashion. And I'm fascinated by the work you guys are doing um, in sort of defining and maybe even redefining some metrics that has to do with the impact and the return from AI in all of its forms, and metrics like return on employee and return on future, and
Yeah.
not just ROI, but more of a sort of a contemplative, perhaps fit for purpose measurement frame for AI. And I'd love to hear about maybe how you're thinking about guiding clients through how they should be thinking about return and
Yeah.
impact and time to value and things like that.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, first, when we hear a conversation like, we first just start with what's actually some case studies. Blue Cross Blue Shield is saving $10 million a year from using AI to go through 150,000 contracts and finding mistakes and things here. So
Yeah.
there's absolutely slam dunk um, use cases out there. Now there's a whole bunch of wasting, but start a conversation saying there's no, we got to look for it is incorrect. Second is
Mm.
we need to first understand some of the basics here. What we're talking about is probabilistic software, not
Mm.
deterministic. 2 + 2 = 4 all the time in Excel.
Yeah.
So to have a conversation called, Mark, I'm not going to let our company use AI in our call center because it hallucinates,
Mm.
presupposes that we never have a hallucination or raw, incorrect answer in our human-based
And the
call
human. Yeah.
center. So we first need to kind of calibrate,
Yeah.
the language. Go back to the language issue there, and
Yeah.
in terms of the ROI, we have a maturity model like a lot of companies do. And ours is called RISE, RISE. In the first phase, research,
Mm.
that ROI is nothing about ROI. You just want people to use it. How many
Mm.
people are using the tool? The second one is islands of innovation, and that's when you might have
Mm.
a single process or a department. There, you want to start using some. You want to be progressive, use NPR, but you want to look at the whole collection of portfolio. As long as that portfolio has got a net positive NPV, you can live with up and down. The next one is S for when you're starting to scale innovation. That's when you really start getting, $1 to $10 million process redesign stuff, and that's when you really want to use the NPV traditional measures. And then E, which very few companies are right now, is where AI is actually creating AI. So this is where
Mm.
yeah, over at NVIDIA, they've been very clear they cannot use AI. If they didn't have AI, they couldn't make forward. I think 80% of the most recent Anthropic release was AI generated. So the ROI measure differs.
Mm.
And I also think the other thing's important to understand is that from a company standpoint, lots of debate on should we have, and chatbots for everybody here.
Yeah.
People need to understand all your top employees already know this is the future. The fact that you don't have a secure employee chatbot and a written employee use policy and AI champions program, and you're
Mm.
hiring people who don't know how to use this thing already shows you're a yellow cab. We get
Mm.
resumes every week from people on AI centers of excellence saying my company doesn't get it.
Yeah.
All the college graduates coming up in May here are using this 20 to 30. This is bigger than sustainability was 15, 20 years ago when you look like a lagger because you didn't have a CSR report here. You now
Yeah.
look like a lagger when you go to Morgan Stanley. Of course they have chatbots
Yeah.
everywhere. I can name 2 or 3 other large financial institutions. It's still banned.
Wow.
So
Wow.
understanding the business case of this is important for attracting and retaining talent. This is
Mm.
important for driving more value, with the ultimate measure being productivity measures like revenue or EBITDA per employee here. And this is a way for us to start distancing ourselves from our competitors, or
Mm.
really a bigger part of the business case for investment.
So that's amazing, Paul. So you and I have both you've been alive a little longer than I have, but we've been part of a few rounds of disruptive technology
Yeah.
emergence. And there's a lot of people out there that say this is largely unprecedented. You could talk about cloud computing, you could talk about the internet itself. Would you say that what you're seeing from a point of view of magnitude, speed, and scale, is actually unprecedented.
Oh, it's completely unprecedented. Let me be
Yeah,
really clear. Our point of view, and the experts saying, is that 95% mark of
yeah,
all cognitive work in the world can be
yep,
done better now with AI.
yeah. And we're just
Research at
getting started.
Moderna, stock trading, doctors. So that's the capability, and that's shipping capability. That's not some
Yeah,
future thing here. So that's
yeah,
one. We saw Industrial Revolution. I think in the before Industrial Revolution, it was like 95% of the U.S. population was on farms, and within two generations went down to like 20%. We're
yeah,
going to have a faster change in the knowledge work reconfiguration. So much of the outsourcing was reconfiguration to China and Mexico with the back office or factory. We're going to see the same thing. And
yeah,
this is as big as a Copernican moment here. We'll realize, the sun's the center of Earth, not the moon. It's bigger than electricity, and
yeah,
it's moving faster than we've ever seen. And the last thing I would add, it's being driven by 4 or 5 tech companies that are more powerful than all but 1 or 2 countries, and they are
yes,
not slowing down. There's no trust busting coming here. So
no,
the investment, the change, and the speed is all moving up this exponential curve. So it's going to be radically different as humans a year from now.
it's exciting. It's an exciting time to be alive, to be honest. And honestly, I talk about it in baseball terms. Would you say that we're still in the first inning?
Oh, clearly, yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe an inning and a half. I mean,
yeah,
we,
yeah,
we have just had the revolution of the large language models. That's a chat GPT. There's
yeah,
other huge revolution curves we haven't gone through yet. One of them is the real world models. This is when you're
yeah.
understanding chemistry and biology and things here. And the other is the next level on physical AI. And that is moving so
Ah,
fast in terms of training. We're going to
yes,
very quickly going to be having. We're already seeing the drone space. Drones are high. We're going to start seeing that with these not so much humanoids, but these really multi-purpose or special purpose, highly cost-effective tools. And we see them sometimes in grocery stores that are mopping the floor and walking around. We're going to have dozens of dozens, and we see that with the Zumba and different tools that sweep our homes. But we're going to have more and more and more of that in terms of autonomous vehicles, autonomous sweeping machines,
yeah,
autonomous tools, and that's going to be another big revolution.
yeah. I see more and more companies, software companies, talking about physical AI as another, modifier before the two letters AI, right? There's
Yeah.
physical, there's generative, there's predictive, there's agentic, there's industrial, there's conversational. Right now, physical AI, like you said, meaning things, robotic warehouse pickers and robotic, line workers and things like that, which is not foreign, right? You've got manufacturing robots and automotive assembly plants
Well,
for
and part of the
decades, right?
physical challenge was the training. So
Yeah,
how do you train an arm to pick up this thing? Now you can. It's where you can just have the AI software brain watch videos of someone
yeah,
training. So the
yeah,
training an autonomous car, you don't have to have necessarily drive in snow in
yeah.
Austin. You can have them simulate that and get the same benefit.
That's fascinating. All right, Paul, you've given me like another 10 speed round questions to ask you, but I'm not gonna ask you all of them because you're a busy man and people don't have attention spans anymore, so they're not gonna listen to this whole thing, but they will. um, I do have some to round us out, which I hopefully be a little bit fun, but also more informative, adding to what you've already shared with us. So let's start here, a little speed round, and then we'll let you carry on with your day. Um, all right, let's say you get 3 inbound calls in a week. You and I chatted about this a little bit. What topic or request makes you immediately know it's not a fit for GAI Insights?
Oh, um, can, can you come and help me help my board and me understand why investing in a secure employee chatbot doesn't have a return?
Oh,
It distracts. That's an easy one, yeah. So,
yeah,
I mean, we
exactly.
really are. We want to learn. We're supporting innovators. We want to be in the top 15 or quartile that's innovating here. Because the people who've gone up over the mountain and learned what's over in the Mississippi are coming back. They're way ahead of
Yeah,
95% of others. So people who've been in production for more than 2 years are asking fundamentally different questions than
yeah.
people who are just starting out in the journey here.
Well, it leads to my
I'm
next.
running away from laggards and I'm running to innovators.
You are the company you keep.
Yeah, well said.
um, yeah. So let me ask you. That leads into the next question, which is, if you're two scenarios, you're talking to a Fortune 500 CEO or CFO, or you're talking to those same roles at like a Series A startup on AI. strategy, let's say generically. Do you approach them differently, and how so?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I think first thing, if you're talking to CEO, you first got to understand what the CEO's motivation is. How far are they away
yeah,
from retirement? How much cash do they have left in the one? And how do they see AI as transformational or just a checkbox item? So
yeah,
that's the first kind of mindset because AI is, we believe strongly, AI shouldn't be viewed as a technology. Of course, it's a technology, but technology is bought and purchased and plugged in lower in an organization. The
yeah,
right way to think about AI, it's a capability, and capabilities are grown. That means in learning systems, changes in comp, changes in org structure, changes in roles and responsibilities. What kind of agency rights we're going to start giving these digital employees is really important here. Can they make a decision? Can they update that field or not? Can they actually go out and bring information back here? And that's all CEO management level stuff if you're serious about being a hybrid organization and
mm,
gaining all the efficiency from this.
yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Are you able to I'm curious, are you able to share maybe a couple names of clients you've worked with, maybe on both ends of those
Oh,
spectrum?
yeah, sure. We're
Yeah,
American Securities is a $20 billion private equity firm. We're helping them
yeah,
with understand the space and their portfolio companies. We just signed a contract with the U.S. federal government on Office of Personnel Management. They're rolling out five employee chatbots. This is all public, Copilot, and walking
hmm,
through. We're helping them understand that.
hmm,
UL Underwriters Laboratory Solutions is a publicly traded 15,000 person company, and they are and we're working with them on how they accelerate their process. Gemline is a $200 million promotional products company, and they're a good case where they had a CEO who was frustrated how fast they were going, and within 6 months we got that whole organization lit up because we
hmm,
focused on instructor-led training. We focused on CEO management, change management, and third, we focused on supporting and helping them support a very robust AI champions. And that's the key to unlocked employee value is getting that champions thing because the goal is to move AI usage from this parlor trick to the cultural norm.
hmm,
Every meeting, people should be saying, "Have you asked the robots? What do the robots say about that?"
yeah,
And that is a new mental muscle and a professional habit we have to get into.
yeah, no doubt. No doubt. No, that's great. That's great. Um, Now, I'm curious about your position relative to tools, right? AI obviously is enabled by technology, whether it's software, services, even hardware, right? Are you guys in a position of recommending or even developing software tools or other tools to help,
Uh, Yeah,
realize that? Yeah,
we're independent on this, so we don't have any vendor. We don't have financial relationships. We do have strong points of view on what tools are
yep,
working.
yep,
It's certainly on the employee chatbot side. Most companies looking at Copilot, ChatGPT. Copilot's way behind. They're not bad, but
yep,
Microsoft Shop, it's a Hugo that's getting better.
yeah,
Um, but best in class, if you're a financial, we have three or four investment management firms we're working with. They're like whatever tool's best for the equity analyst. And some of
mm,
them are absolutely Claude for Excel,
yep,
absolutely Claude for coding, absolutely Claude for this co-work. Gemini is really good now for deep research. So if you're an equity researcher, you're probably using two or three research tools.
yep,
Um, and then inside the more expensive AI apps, those are all moving to multiple agents here. So you
yeah,
got governing agents here. More people are moving to using open source or Chinese models because the total cost of ownership is exploding, and the
mm,
token explosion is just through the roof. So once you go live, most enterprises are shocked to find out that, oh, look at that, hey, we have now 15,000 people using our customer service thing here, but why are we spending another $500,000 a year on tokens? Because we have a variable cost in this type of enterprise software we never had before with Salesforce. And that is going up because usage is going up, because people are now using agents, which now use tokens 24 hours a day, and because you
mm.
got more sophisticated use putting in longer prompts, which are getting longer outputs.
Got it, got it, got it. All right, so more language conversation, agentic versus generative. So, and let's just simplify the world now into those two buckets, even though it's nowhere near that simple. What what would you say about the coexistence of those two types? Are they interacting? Are they complementing each other? Are any of them overhyped or maybe underestimated? A lot of folks in the world I work in every day, talk about agentic all the time as sort of the
Yeah.
truly transformative, action oriented productivity driver, and generative is more sort of the consumerized use case. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts
I mean,
around
I
the?
think there's so many definitions. It's confusing here.
Yeah,
That's why I think we're jumping down a level to the what we're actually talking about here. We're talking
yeah,
about
yeah, yeah,
task automation here, and they're
yeah,
either triggered by a human or an API. And
yeah.
then what's in the process? Is it a single LLM or is it multiple ones? Increasingly, they're multiple ones. And you can call it agentic or not, but if you've got a process that has some non-deterministic software in it, i.e. LLM,
Yeah,
that's agentic. And they're
yeah.
basically a little, macros or subroutines. And that's why the debate at this level is, I find, useless. We got to jump up a level and back to the basics. What problem are we trying to solve? Oh, we're trying to get 15% more productivity in our enterprise sales reps. Oh, they spend half their time responding to RFPs. All right, so that's a
Mm,
business problem. And who
mm,
cares if it's agentic or AI or spinning wheels or bird
yeah,
fingers? We just want to solve that problem here. So let's have a discussion on how we're using the what, get alignment on the what, and the how can just be the right thing rather than having debates on the how. It's like walking to Home Depot having debate on should I buy a shovel or a hoe. We haven't decided if we're building a porch or putting in a swimming pool.
yeah, yeah. That's good. That's a good analogy. I got it. I got it. All right. So listen, there are probably not, there are not 65,000 people listening right now, but there are 65,000 people that are sort of part of the Enterprise Edge community, you could say. And if you could direct them to look at maybe one case study from your research before their next board meeting, which one would it be and why?
For a case study, I encourage them to go to the Blue Cross Blue Shield Michigan case. It's a Harvard Business School case we wrote up that's rocks. It's $10 million savings. It's internal
Yep.
case, so there was no customer facing risk here,
Hmm.
and it was within 12 months. The key thing on the ROI, you want to have something that uses existing metrics and with a 12-month payback, so you get momentum in the organization here.
Yeah.
So that's one. And the other one, I encourage people, and hopefully it didn't sound too self-serving. One of the HBR articles written is called I think it's called Where to Start with Generative AI, and it has a simple 2x2, and it
Mm.
talks about what we call WINS: words, images, numbers, and sounds. So if you have work that involves words, images, numbers, sounds, lawyers, software, and a lot of that's digitized, you're in the crucible. You have T
Mm.
minus 36 months. You have 5 to 15% revenue and profit impact.
Mm.
But you have a lot of physical thing, you're mining, parts of surgery, you still need a physical. You might be in the balcony and walking a little bit here. But when you're
Yep.
in that WINS work, words, images, numbers, and sounds, you need to think about AI's power tools. I mean, you
Mm.
wouldn't hire a roofer who doesn't know how to use a roofing gun.
Yeah.
If you hired someone to redo your kitchen, you came home and they're manually drilling holes, you're like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? So if you walk around your organization and someone's manually responding to an RFP, they're manually looking up regulations and jotting down. They're using non-hand tools. You need to use power tools. And so this WINS framework is a really simple way to think about a subset of knowledge work, a subset of digital work, of where there's opportunities at the industry level, company level, and job level.
I love it. All right. So you've mentioned Harvard a couple of times. I think this might be my last question, unless I think of another. So you graduated HBS back in what I'll call the late 1900s. A lot,
Thanks,
a,
Mark.
a, a lot has changed since then. Um, I'm curious, a little bit of a tangent. What role do you think AI should play in higher education now and going forward?
It's transformational. I understand that original education up until the Industrial Revolution was tutors and small classes. The Industrial Revolution through Germany and everything else moved towards factory thinking about where we had bells, everyone learned to stay in line, to walk in the thing, and that prepared a workforce from the farm for the factory. But we know when you have individual tutors, the student learns 1 to 2 standard deviations better than the student in big class here. So we're moving back to, or we need to move back to individually having own tutors. We have Socrates in our hand here who'll be infinitely patient with me to explain math to me. Explain to me like I'm a 6-year-old. Explain to me like you're a Disney princess. However I need to learn, we now have
Yeah,
a tool for that here. The challenge is that education systems just not um, move fast or used to radically rethinking of that here. So we're going to continue to see the have and have not, and education is going to go further. I'm sitting here in Boston, Mark, and I probably get an email at least every other week
yeah,
Asking Paul, I'm looking for an AI tutor for my high school kid or for my grade school kid here because
Yeah.
they know the schools are not keeping up. And
Yeah.
I've been in a lot of conversations with, I don't want to use names, presidents and others at universities and colleges, and they're usually talking about doing a study for a year, and then the faculty pushes back hard here. So we've got
Yeah.
lanes of new learning that's happening out there, and the smart kids will take advantage of it.
Yeah. I'm not going to endorse anything, but I read a story the other day about a pilot school in Miami that's kind of doing what you just said. It's more of an individualized learning model where there might be 20 kids in a classroom, but they're on 20 different learning paths that's being facilitated by essentially AI plus what they call a coach, not a teacher, but a
Yep,
coach.
correct,
So it's a hybrid, like you said, but it's not a sort of monolithic stand in front of 20 kids and
correct.
expect them all to move at the same path, right? The same pace. So interesting.
And Mark, we
Um,
know the answer. We know active learning is the way to do it. And everyone's like, oh no, AI is going to be a cheat tool. Well, don't ask AI to give you the answer. Ask
yeah,
AI to ask me one question at a time and guide me to the answer.
yeah,
With that
exactly.
coaching, it's the same tool. It's just a different prompt. And there's lots of ways
Yeah.
that more innovative ways of doing that.
All right, Paul, tell me one thing. What's a day in the life of an executive fellow at Harvard Business School?
Oh, well, let's be real. It's part time. It's part time. It's not paid. We trade some cachet for helping them. What they need our help on, what they value, is when we see innovative companies, we help them bring them back and or either propose or help them write case studies. That's one.
Got
Second
it.
is because this is moving this fast, and we're spending all the time every day talking to innovators. We're just closer to what's happening versus a professor who's got to teach class. He's got to go to these faculty meetings. She's spending 40% of the time on politics. The schedule
Yeah.
gets set. You already have thing here. So how to stay current and make sure that the key learnings are coming in is a core part of what we do. So I end up having calls probably every other week with one or two professors. I'm probably over there at least once a week.
Mm,
Sometimes we'll come into classes to help students. Sometimes we'll help write cases here. But it's probably 2 to 4 hours a week on average.
yeah. All right. Very cool. Very cool. Last thing, how can people get in touch with you, Paul, and your team
Yeah.
if they want to have questions and want to learn more?
Yeah, well, a couple ways. You can go to gaiinsights.com, it's two eyes. One of the things we do to help everyone stay current, we have a daily AI show at 7:30, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We have Build an AI Robot that sucks up all the enterprise AI articles the day before. Our analysts in India bring it down to 5. And then we have a live show that debates EIO, essential, important, or optional for the AI leader. And then people call in and debate us, a little bit like PTI. And then we also have an email goes out there. And we've got a lot of great feedback that we're now really learning what's essential reading for AI leaders because they're so time starved. So you can sign up on the website and get the email, or you can go to the YouTube and watch it live.
Ah, that's cool. I love that. I love that. Well, Paul, we're gonna let you go. I know it's not even close to your weekend yet. You've got a lot to do before then, and probably during your weekend. But I want to say this has been awesome, Paul. Great to reconnect with you and learn from you and pick up where we left off 25 years ago. Thank you all for listening. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you do have questions for me or for Paul, and for some reason can't track down Paul, let me know and I'll redirect you. But until we meet again, thank you all. Have a great weekend and take care, everybody.